Good afternoon. I hope each of you are having a wonderful day. Today's topic that we'll be discussing is that of synthesis. In my opinion, synthesis is so instrumental to academia and professional and personal growth as it is different from other genres of writing. Where in our argument writing, we had the for, the against, and your outcome was which argument or which side had the strongest stance or argument to win. In a synthesis, it's a little different. It is about taking different perspectives in order to gain um, a deeper understanding of how you think about a given topic. There was a quote that I had heard. It said, "Everything you think is something uh, that someone else has exposed yourself to." And I thought that was such an interesting comment because how much of how we build our personal ideology is based on what we hear, and that can be a little dangerous. Who's the person that you're hearing it from? Are they credible? Why do we choose to listen to them? What is the influence there? Is it that they're popular, they're famous, they are an actor, athlete. It could be whatever it is, someone that you look up to. But how often do we hear those stories of people that we look up to and then you find out, oh, they're not totally great people once you get to know them, but yet we see them from afar and we have these preconceived notions of who they are. So therefore, anything that they say, we have a tendency to be in alignment with without really fact checking where that is. And that's a dangerous place to be. And so with synthesis, rather than just hearing a particular concept or how someone thinks about something, we're taking ownership. And I love that, and I want to kind of instill that. You're taking ownership of what you are choosing to align yourself with. And it has to be truth based. We're in a society of what's my truth. I dislike that phrase. One, there's no version of a truth. It is either the truth or it is not the truth. We have a lot of people, in different areas of their life. I I see myself as this, or I want to be this, or I am this, but it doesn't necessarily make it so. It's just like me saying I'm a millionaire. I can go out and I can rack up my credit cards and buy the things that make me look like a millionaire, or buy the car, or whatever that looks like. But that doesn't make me a millionaire. It just makes me really broke. And at some point, the balance is going to be due. And that facade of who we say we are is going to be exposed because there was no truth to it. It was an illusion. And so we have to really think about that as I'm not saying that you should want to conduct yourself in a manner of the position that you would like to be in, but you need to do that within reason, where it is there's a line there. It's when you are when your ethos, when your credibility could be pulled into question because you are saying things, you're doing things. I'm a millionaire because I identify as a millionaire, but the reality is that you're not. And when that truth comes to light, then that does affect your ethos. That affects your credibility, not only as an academic, but as a professional. And it becomes fraudulent. And so, as we are continuing on this journey of academic research and writing, we have to be truth based. It cannot be opinion based. It has to be, what is that truth? And now there's a couple different things. One is knowing truth about the topic, but also there is a piece of this, especially because we're individuals, that personal ideology and what makes that up. Life experiences, if you align yourself in with a religious, if you're Christian, Islamic, Buddhist, they have rule books. Do you align yourself with that? And the decisions that you're making, are they reflective of that personal? Because it is extremely personal if you are a faith-based person. So there's some things that make up that. And if you're a faith-based person, you are like, I believe that as truth. So it's, you have the rule book, you have a way to reference it and give evidence as to why you're in agreement or disagreement with something. I hope that helps. So this week, and to kind of give some clarity in your textbook, and again, don't forget that this lecture is going along with chapter 8 in your textbook, from inquiry to academic writing. Um, it had said that a synthesis is perspectives from two or more. And as I explained in class, I felt like that could lend itself to a little bit of confusion, especially if you've had argument papers. And like I established earlier, argument papers are different because it is a pro stance and against stance, and your outcome is which one has the strongest argument. As we can see with the synthesis, it's not that clear cut. It is about you taking different perspectives from different groups, and then based on what you have learned from these different perspectives, from these different views, how do you view the topic now? And and I know in a couple classes we talked about this, about how often have we proclaimed something and then realized that it was not the truth, and you're like, I totally misspoke. First, own that. If that has ever happened to you, I misspoke. I should have looked deeper into that before I had made that proclamation. Blah blah blah. People can respect that when you are really forthcoming with if you did misspeak. So, don't pretend that it didn't happen, because remember, it's a part of who you are. If you can own your mistakes, that really says a lot about you as just a human in general. So, you know, this week is giving you an opportunity to look at a current event, something that is going on, and then you having to select three different perspectives or three different viewpoints of this given topic. Now, the three different perspectives, what does that look like? Think groups. Okay, so if I was to do, um, someone to come up with immigration, illegal immigration. There are different groups and they totally think different, even within the immigrant community. If you are an illegal immigrant, you obviously think about our immigration policy one way. If you are an immigrant who has come here correctly and followed all the rules, you have an opinion about our immigration policy. How about the people that are citizens of the United States that are not immigrants? How about the border control people? They have a perspective. How about the government people? As you can see, each one of these groups, they think a certain way on a given topic. And it is important for us to understand as citizens, what do these different groups, why are they so passionate about this? And a couple things can happen from this. One, it will open your eyes to put yourself in someone else's shoes. It gives you empathy. It enables us to continue the conversation, really, which is the purpose of academic writing and rhetoric, is to continue that conversation in order to find solutions. And if you're able to say, you know what, I understand, and this is where I'm coming from, it allows us and it postures us in a manner to where we can continue that conversation. So you can move forward, and it's not this, I'm digging my heels in here, I'm digging my heels in here, and then nothing happens. And, it's like stagnant water. All you're going to get is a bunch of mosquitoes. So we just have to have that discourse in order to continue to move forward, because that's healthy, and to be educated as we move forward. And part of that, again, is, what are the credible sources behind each one of these viewpoints? And now that you know this, how do you view this? So it could either be an opportunity to open up discourse. It could be that maybe you didn't know as much about a particular topic. You were listening to someone else's verbal rhetoric, and you've formed an opinion. But now that you have credibility behind it, you've done some research, you can say, ooh, maybe I need to rethink this, and my viewpoint's different. The other option is that if after doing research, taking in all the different perspectives into account, then it could be that it confirms how you think on a given topic, but that gives you some credibility behind it because now you've done the research for it. So they're just different outcomes of how can this affect you, but it will affect you. Anytime that you read, anytime that you're listening, you are internalizing whatever that is, and that does help to create your personal ideology, and how you view certain things. All right, so I want to jump into your textbook. I hope that gives you some about this paper that is coming up. uh, the discussion board this week is you finding your topic. Why did you choose that topic? And what are the three perspectives that this topic is bringing to the table? What different viewpoints? Again, as I stated in class, you really want three distinct. You don't really want to muddy those waters with things that are very close, because I need to see that there are three different viewpoints on a given topic. There are so many that are out there, and there's so much stuff going on in current events today, um, that you have a lot to choose from. So your discussion board is due tonight by 11:59. Remember, your initial thread is no less than 300 words, which honestly you should blow that out. And then your reply threads to two of your classmates, no less than two of your classmates, no less than 100 words in your reply thread is due by Sunday evening by 11:59. Also, you'll be having a quiz this week on the material from Chapter 8 and from class discussion. So please make sure that before you open that assessment that you are familiar with that material. If you have to go back into your your book and notes, that's fine. But as this is a timed assessment, remember, so you do not have enough time to look up every question. Save that for something that you really need to look up. Okay. So anyway, Chapter 8, synthesis. You need to know really what that is. Forges connections between arguments of two or more authors. Key claims of each author's argument. You're going to need to know that. Remember, this is only going to be a 5-page paper. So you really want to get the best of, I figure if you get the main claims of each one, that you'll be doing well. Requires you to present a central idea or gist to your readers. A synthesis creates a context for your own argument. And remember, we were talking about the word argument. Argument is not necessarily you arguing because you're in disagreement. An argument is this is your stance. And I feel like that word is so overused, I feel like sometimes it promotes confusion. So, in your argument on how you view a given topic, okay? So, just by changing that in there. It demonstrates that you are aware of the larger conversation about the issue. This is a life skill. We all know that the news is depressing, but because it is depressing, does that mean that we shouldn't watch it? No, because sometimes things are uncomfortable, and just because it's uncomfortable or we don't like it doesn't mean that we shouldn't learn about it. I think that's where a lot of problems ensue. Everybody wants to walk around and happy, happy, joy, joy, and that's great. And if you can do that, great. But life really is about looking and being a part of the messy sometimes, and being a part of those solutions of what's messy and uncomfortable. And that's okay. That's where our growth happens. So, yay for messy. All right. Comparing different points of view prompts you to ask why they differ. Why do each people view this different topic differently? Now, if I like kind of going back to the immigration piece, if you're an illegal immigrant, why do they feel that way? Well, they're coming. It could be for a myriad of reasons. I mean, we also have terrorists that are coming in. They like our open door policies. They want to come in. Nobody's going to really check them. It could be that their land, they are coming to the United States because, there's no way to feed their family, and they want to get in order to do that, to send money back home. Um, there's just a lot of reasons to give a better future for their children. That could be it. And not having to go through red tape. The other piece of that are immigrants who have come here lawfully, that they did what they were supposed to do. They have a problem with illegal immigrants because they believe it brings in a lot more problems than it does. I mean, we have where, you have criminals that are coming into our country, where our own citizens are not safe. They're not safe. They're bringing drugs in, or the human trafficking. Where there's no checks and balances, that's a problem. That's a problem. But they see the value of being a United States citizen, and so they took the steps in order to do that. And it makes them angry. And I have seen a lot of and read about, a lot of those testimonies that, you know, they did this correctly. They waited in line. It is not right for people to just jump that line. And they also see it as a safety thing as well. The citizens of the United States, they don't like illegal, just basically for the same thing that I was saying. And we do see a little crossover there. They're bringing drugs. People have had crimes committed against them from people who don't even live here. They have a problem where we as United States citizens pay our taxes, but yet we are not afforded certain things, but people who are coming in illegally are getting free health care when we're having a hard time paying for our own, or they're just being treated differently. They're getting loans, and there's a lot of different things that are out there, and they feel as though that certain government officials are more favorable to people who are coming in illegally than their constituents and the people that live here lawfully. Not all, but so just you can see, there it could be personal experiences. What if you were a family that your loved one was victimized by an illegal immigrant? You are totally going to have a reason as to why to oppose that. Let's say you're an illegal immigrant that came in and were able to, you work hard and you're sending money home and you're trying to do things honestly, but for whatever reason you never went through the right processes. That's a different point of view. Government, I'll just do some research on that particular, you know, um, congressman or senator or whatever, and really what their stance is. But just so you kind of get my point, people have viewpoints as to why they think of certain things, and typically it goes down to they take it personal, and there's something personal about it, and that's what you're looking for. Again, your purpose is to decide what your connections mean to you and your readers, and after that, how can you make use of that information that you've learned into how you now view that topic? And that's what's so important here. Um, the gist, or writing a synthesis, there's things that have to be present in your paper. You have to make connections among the ideas in different texts. You have to decide what those connections mean, and you need to formulate the gist of what you've read. So basically, you need to annotate. You need to, the information that you have, you need to annotate that information, find out what is really the key points for each one of these perspectives, and get them into workable pieces. Okay, so, and that's very important. Your gist should be a succinct statement that brings into focus not the central idea of one text, but the relationship among different ideas in multiple texts. Again, this is a 5-page paper. All right, I'm going to flip over to page 237, annotation, and we talked about this in class. Look at that list: author and source of information, the gist of each author's argument, supporting examples, illustrations, counter arguments, our own thoughts. That's a lot of information that sounds like it should go into your outline. But look at what that information is. Where's the best placement for you to present that information? That is why you have an outline. You are going to have an outline, by the way, that is going to be due next week. I probably, in order for me to get more timely feedback, it will be probably Tuesday or Wednesday. Thursday was just too late in the week for me to get all those graded and back in time for you to really have it in enough time where you could modify it if you needed to. All right, this is where one of the reasons that I like this book. I have flipped over to page 240, 241. Well, actually, we're 241. This book also discusses how we're able to transition from one idea to the next. What does that look like? Using direct quotes. These are things that are like mysteries to most people. And I love how it goes through. It gives you examples. Um, that's why this is such a great resource. Okay. And so I would, if those are challenge areas for you, I would definitely read through this starting 241 to the end of the chapter. One of the things, how to formulate this information into a gist, you can use transition words such as although and however. However, be very careful. Here is my cautionary tale about however. Remember that people can get on a train with some of these words and it becomes redundant. So be very careful. However, I have found is one of the most misused or overused words that I see in most people write, most writing or student writings. Um, I know that I've counted, 20 some on one page. That's way too much. So if you're using it, that's fine, but be sparingly. Because remember, with redundancy, the problem with redundancy is you shift the focus from your content onto the redundant word. And that is really a problematic thing. Um, what you could do after you have finished typing, especially in Word, they have that word find. It's usually up in the right hand corner of Word. Type in however, and it will highlight how many times you've used it. And if you see an overuse of it, that's a problem. The other way to really identify it is one of our editing tools of read your writing out loud exactly the way that you've written it. It will identify redundancy big time. And so read it out. Don't forget when you're reading your paper out loud exactly the way that you've written it. Make sure that you have a pen that is any different color so that those edits stand out and that you're making those marks um, to identify easily. On page 243, writing yourself into the conversation. This entails thinking critically about what you are reading, raising questions, conducting further research, taking a stance based on your own understanding of what you've read, what you believe, what you value, and the available evidence. This is your outcome. This information should be present in your outcome or conclusion. Please, again, just as a reminder, please do not begin a conclusion in conclusion. Do not start your paper with a question, and do not say, I am writing about, because that is stating the obvious. I'm reading it. You don't need to tell me you're writing about it because I see that you've written it. Okay. On 243, it says steps to writing a synthesis, make connections, decide. We've already talked about all of that. All right. 244. Drawing connections among ideas and texts, using similar strategy, making connections, helping readers to understand the connections between text, words such as so, therefore, and altogether. Serve as signposts that tell readers this is a connection, and that's fine. There's some examples there. Um, Ensuring that readers know what you think and believe. Practice. All right, I'm flipping over to page 256. Avoiding plagiarism. We talk about this a lot, and I will continue to talk about it until you are out of my class. I cannot stress the importance of plagiarism and the role that it plays. Um, it it is seen in multiple ways. One, the most common thing of plagiarism is the copy and paste thing. You didn't write it, so you copy and pasted someone else's work, and you didn't credit. And you're taking, basically the premise is you're taking on someone else's work as your own. It does not have to be just a copy and paste or a direct quote. Even paraphrasing, if you do not use an in-text citation that references a bibliography on your reference page, that's considered plagiarism because you have not cited, you have not given me the information of where you got that information. Remember that there are a lot of tools that are out there that we use on the college level. I'm pretty good just because I've been teaching English for a long time. I can usually tell if it's not yours, and I'll find it and I'll highlight it and all that good stuff. The same thing with AI, though, guys. One, you can't cite AI because AI is like your friend writing your paper. So I do not want to see any citations. I do know that there are some college professors that say that you can. I think that is another thing. I just don't think that that's appropriate because it's something else is creating the work, and it's not like they are doing research and writing that. So just so you are completely aware, uh, I do not want to see any AI citations, even if it is allowed in other classes. It will not be allowed in this one. I need original work from each of you guys. Okay. With that being said, any time that you are using information from another source, you have to cite it. Unless you were physically there, unless it was your research that you created from conception to the conclusion, where you are that primary source. Unless that is you, then you better have a cite from where you've gotten it. Especially when we're getting into papers that there's multiple authors, multiple sources that you're looking in, we have got to be able to differentiate where you got those sources. And we talked about that in class on how to cite those sources correctly. Look at those notes from class. Also look at the APA guide that I've created for you guys in your resource module. Um, Principles governing plagiarism. It's on page 257. I'm not going to insult you. Go ahead and read through those. And some of you really need to read those. You can self-plagiarize, you know. You can't turn in a paper in one class and then turn in another. That's actually self-plagiarism, and you can get kicked out of college. Don't do it. Do your own work. There's a reason why we give all the assignments that we do. I'm looking for certain skills to teach a certain skill, and it's for you to apply those skills. Okay. Um, Steps avoiding plagiarism, using in-text citation and references. Okay, a couple things. They overuse the word citation, and it confuses the mess out of students. Citation and bibliography, I think, have been used synonymously, and they're not. An in-text citation is an abbreviated form of the bibliography that is on the reference page. So when we say citations, I need an in-text citation and I need a bibliography. I need both. If I just have in-text citations, no reference bibliographies on a reference page, you have a 0. If I just have a reference page with a bunch of bibliographies but no in-text citations, you have a 0. I have to have both because they work in tandem with one another. And they are two separate things. Even though they are from the same bibliography, it is so when I am looking at research, I see that, oh, this came from this source. What if I want to go back to that source and I want to read additional? Research in itself is you've read something and you're like, oh, this could go in deeper, and then I'm using that source I can go into that source and use it for my own personal research. So please be very careful with that. You have to have in-text citations and bibliographies. The bibliographies live on the reference page. The in-text citations are the abbreviated form of the bibliography. And if you think about it, it's the first two things in the bibliography: the author's last name, the copyright date. And then if there's a page number, then, P, whatever that is, or PP with the page stamp. Direct quotes. Remember, if you have a direct quote, you should show the significance. But I cannot stress, people just throw in direct quotes to get page count. If it's a direct quote that has no significance, one, you've confused the reader. If you've confused the reader, you basically failed. The other thing is, a direct quote means that there is no other way. There's no way for me to rephrase this. Usually direct quotes are something that's very significant. Speak softly, carry a big stick. You can't really paraphrase that. And you are reflecting Theodore Roosevelt. And so that is such a big statement that represents who he is. So you would keep that in a direct quote. So in most information, 98% should be paraphrasing. You're putting it into your own words. That's why in your outline, put key phrases. Do not write incomplete sentences because you want to be able to develop that into your rough draft. If you write incomplete sentences and all that stuff in your outline, all you're doing is copy and pasting, and it's going to be very choppy. It's not going to run smooth, and you're not going to make page count also. Please read through when you're integrating sources. Two basic things that you want to keep in mind. First, identify the source of the information so that the readers can see that the author institutions you cite give your argument credibility. And that's the other thing. By citing and using, you are giving credibility to your thought as to why that this was important. Second, take an active stance on explaining and demonstrating the significance of the information within your own argument. You have to have significance. If you are having a direct quote, why is that important that you are using that? Like I told you guys, I've been talking to other professors in different concentrations, and that's actually one of the biggest complaints, using direct quotes but not qualifying it, not giving it significance, not explaining it. If you use a direct quote, you must explain it for significance as to why you're even using it. Remember, if you overuse direct quotes, it becomes a patchwork of someone else's work, and it's going to be a horrible paper. So what we're looking at on the college level is, what are you extracting from this, from the research that you're conducting? How are you synthesizing that information to create how you view certain things? All right, on page 261, signal phrases, using signal phrases to introduce quotations. You just need to read through this information. There are common verbs to signal phrases. How to use block quotations. I will tell you. It says 4 lines. If you have 4 lines, you have to have a block. It's also 40 words. In this particular level, we're in 102, I do not want to see block quotations. There's nothing that significant that we are doing on this level that you would need to do that. Maybe in sciences, but definitely in your upper level classes, graduate classes, most likely you will have times where this will occur. This is so you are aware of it and when it is appropriate. So that kind of takes us through chapter 8. There's a lot of great information in here. I expect you to use it. I expect you to learn from that. And why we're doing this. Again, synthesis is so instrumental. And you're actually forming some type of synthesis every time that you're researching something. Because you're internalizing it, and what you're looking at, and how what you're reading, how does it affect how you look at certain things. So I hope that this was helpful. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to shoot me an email. But other than that, have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you in class.